Hello, welcome back to the Your Everyday Strength podcast. My name is Josh Sternberg. If you're just joining us here for the very first time, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. If you are returning, welcome back. I appreciate you. Today's episode, we have a guest, the lovely Eden Morfitt. Hope I didn't butcher that.
No, that's right.
I am going to do the same thing I do to every single person. I'm going to throw them straight in the deep end. Eden's going to talk. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, who she is, what she does, and then we're going to run from there. So strap in. Go.
Firstly, thank you for having me and thank you for throwing me in the deep end. About myself, I am a mindset coach for women. I help build discipline, mental resilience, achieve goals in life, basically. Along with that, I do disability support work with kids with disabilities, which I love and fills my time. But yeah, lover of the gym, running, all things health and fitness and mindset.
I love that. How, with the disability support work, is that like primarily what you do for work at the moment, and then coaching is on the side, or where are you sort of at with both of those?
Yeah, so I moved into disability support work. I actually used to work in a hospital in allied health, and then I moved into disability support work when I was kind of on the edge of wanting to make a career change. I was doing some studies in mental health and alcohol and other drugs, kind of looking at more the community mental health lens, looking to go in that direction, or counselling or something similar to that. But throughout my studies, I kind of found more of a love of working with people in the framework of making change in a different way than the community mental health system kind of allows. And had a few friends in disability support work, and moving out of the hospital into disability gave me a bit more flexibility, but still the love for working with people and being in and caring with people in like day-to-day life, which is what I love doing. So
yeah, that's cool. What were you primarily doing with the allied health, like within the actual hospital itself?
Yeah, so I used to work as an allied health assistant, so working with physios, OTs, speech therapists in a hospital and a rehab setting, so Frankston Hospital, Peninsula Health, kind of all of that. And for the majority of my time there, I worked in the OT department as an OT assistant, helping with stroke rehab, anything, I suppose, across all of the wards, whatever the OTs needed, I'd work with them. And then I moved more multidisciplinary, so helping with physios and OTs, as well as speech and psych and things like that. So getting a bit of a broader lens into helping people get home from the hospital from whatever they'd come in with. But yeah, which is where I did find a love for working with people as well. And you see so many different people come through the hospital at different stages of their life. Obviously, coming into a hospital, it's never really a good reason, but you would see people from all walks of life and all avenues, and kind of seeing the support that was available there for them and what had been available and the lives that they'd lived. It gave me such a window into different people's realities that I found really interesting. And working in the mental health side of things as well, it's the understanding of different people from different areas of life and how we all view the world so differently, and what's impacted us along our journeys in life, and you know how it comes to create the people that we are and the impact we have on others. That's kind of always stuck with me. It's really led me to wanting to make more of an impact and a change in the mental health space, but just in terms of navigating where I wanted to be and the impact that I wanted to have, especially as someone that loves health and fitness and can see the holistic kind of view of it all, of how it's all intertwined, especially, as I said, working in the hospital setting. You see people coming in at the end of their lives, and you get a window into what their life did look like, and you can see what has impacted people in the way that they age, the way that they move, you know, thinking, behaviours, what they consume. It all sums up to something. And you see it so often with people, you know, struggling with mental health, struggling with, you know, getting into fitness and different parts of lifestyle. There is so much that goes into it.
Samuel decided he wanted to get involved today.
That's so fair. You are very beautiful. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I could not unsee how everything came together and wonder why there wasn't more being done for people in these areas, or more education. Like when I was growing up in school and I didn't have the best, you know, home life or upbringing, we weren't taught certain skills that would make such a difference in our lives, in communities, and all of these things. So for me, piecing together where I wanted to be having that impact, all of those things kind of factored in to bring me to wanting to do coaching. And I just want to help people. I think working in the hospital, working in disability, there's always that piece of you want to be in the community with people, and there's a purpose behind it to help more than, I guess, your standard role and job.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, it's like a really well thought out reasoning and rationale behind it. You kind of touched on the schooling system and the skills that you don't believe that we probably learn that we should. I want you to elaborate on that. Give me a bit of an idea where you're at with that.
Yeah.
Because I have a very, very similar mindset.
Yeah, I think we're quite the same in our thought process on that. And it's something that I feel very strongly about. It's learning things like emotional regulation, self-awareness. And I think that there is so much in that isn't taught and isn't known, and even understanding emotions. A lot of us think happy, sad, angry, hurt. Like those are very front, like top of mind emotions that you turn to, and it's never kind of dove under. And like there are so many emotions in the spectrum of feelings that we're not educated enough around how to cope, handle and deal with those at any stage in life. And people that are outwardly aggressive are just, oh, you're an angry person, but what's going on underneath that? And I think coming from the lens of childhood and primary care, going into school, things like that, being able to being taught what those emotions are in that broader spectrum and what they mean, and then how to understand them and navigate them for yourself when in relation to yourself, but also other people, friends, the broader community at home, understanding why you feel the things that you feel and then how to work with them. We're not trying to get rid of feelings, we're trying to understand them and live our lives with those side by side of us. It's not about never being angry. It's about understanding anger and understanding what's beneath the surface of that. Things like embarrassment, sadness, grief, those all come out and can present as an angry person. And from someone looking out, if that's all that you're seeing, it's...
Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Samuel, sit down.
Sorry, it's because I'm giving you attention too that you want more of it. I'm so sorry.
Samuel, bed. Go to bed. Go to bed, my guy. He's not normally this involved in the potties.
I just must have a way with animals.
Yeah, he's very it's a good sign. Obviously, animals are very, very intuitive.
Yeah.
And they know people probably better than we know ourselves half the time.
Absolutely.
So to not obviously take your train of thought away from that,
No.
but how do you see it changing? How do you actually see some form of implementation for people to start that process? Because I was very similar, through my whole schooling, I was just told I'm naughty, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, not really actually. There's I was acting up, and since being an adult, I was diagnosed with ADHD. So I was having to navigate being undiagnosed throughout my entire schooling life and not understanding why I thought the way I thought and why I did the things that I did, because they just labeled me as one thing rather than being like, okay, well, there's clearly something here. And there was some teachers who took notice of that, and they figured out ways to help me that best suited, whether that meant taking me out of the class was the best thing.
Yeah.
They just go and put me on my own. Suddenly I started doing really well.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm not naughty and I'm not disruptive. It's just when there's a lot going on around me and I can't physically concentrate.
Overstimulated.
But I don't understand that, so I just think I'm naughty. And I just think I'm bad.
And that's what you're being told.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, is that especially for children, they believe what we tell them. As a child, in your those formative years, you are being influenced by everyone around you, your community, your teachers, friends, their parents, your parents. All of those in your immediate circle and vicinity are what's creating your picture of the world and your picture of yourself. And that is something that can be changed, but as an adult we find that a lot harder. It does take more intention, and that is, I think, for myself, why I find it so crucial that as people of our age and generation, all generations of course, we gain this understanding, because we are then having impact on further generations. As you said, like teachers not knowing how to help you, and I know that there is more awareness around ADHD and all of those things, and the spectrum these days. There is more strategies in place in schools to help deal with that, but it is that there are so many levels to it that the more we know, the more we'll be able to help and outwardly project that on others. And I do think it starts with yourself. I think having the education and wanting to learn about yourself brings a level of understanding and empathy outwardly to every person that you meet, every conversation that you have, how you interact. And for myself, like, I work with kids, some in, that age bracket before 7 years old, where you are creating your concept of yourself in your mind. And I'm very intentional about how I react, how I speak about myself, how I frame my view of the world to them, because I know that I am having an impact. And it does truly matter. The way that you respond to children matters. The things that you say about yourself around other people are having an influence on them. And that's children and other adults as well. It's why your circle is so important. But I do believe to make real change, while it is quite layered, it does come with people having that in themselves. Us, if I were to one day go on and have children, the way that I view the world is then passed on to them, my actions, my beliefs. And it's the same with, I work with women as a coach. Every person that I meet, I'm imparting something onto. I'm helping open up their view of the world and their concept of self and their concept of reality. That is also framed on my own knowledge, my own understanding, my own empathy, my own ability to hold space for somebody else. I think in any relationship that is so important, and having more adults in these places and spaces of influence that do have that understanding and the ability to regulate their own emotions, the understanding of emotional regulation, intelligence, and understanding of other people and how we think, act, and behave matters so much. And that's why, like, my area that I love working with is women, and helping women build the discipline, emotional resilience, and understanding to have that self-leadership, to be able to go into spaces knowing their worth, having confidence, and having the strength to carry themselves through multiple avenues of life, whether it's fitness, career, relationships. The way that you're able to hold yourself and your emotions impacts so many people. And I think that starting with that in yourself and building that foundational understanding up within the community is how we make the most change, because there is obviously circumstances that are so hard and complex, and it does take more than knowledge and an understanding of, this person is having this reaction because of this. There needs to be a level of implementation. There needs to be someone that can co-regulate in a space. And that starts by being the regulated person. It starts by having the understanding and knowing yourself, and knowing, I guess, a layer of what is actually going on in our brains, what drives us as humans, what wires us, and then how to rewire that. I could probably talk on that forever, but that's what I think is so important. It's understanding why you behave the way that you do. Is it positive? Is it serving? Is it not just serving you, but outwardly? When you enter a space, what are you bringing with you? Having that leadership of yourself, so then you are imparting better onto the community. You are having a positive impact. And I think too, for a lot of people that do struggle, or that haven't had kind of been shown any good role models in those areas, it's really hard to grasp even caring about that, which is hard to see when you yourself have, built a life that is positive and healthier and centered around, growth and things like that. But that's the truth and the reality of community and the world at large. And so many people do struggle. So it's being able to hold space for that and be able to navigate that with people, because you are going to come across that in all areas of life. Conflict is going to come up. People having a different view to you is going to come up. You are going to encounter people that are struggling in ways that you've not encountered before in your own life, and being able to have an understanding and an empathy and a capacity to hold that is so important, so crucial.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said there. And I think like, you're obviously looking at it through the lens of a female, through growing up through that way. And I'm very fortunate that I've grown up as a male, obviously, but having been taught from a very young age that emotions were okay, which I know a lot of guys aren't. I know that a lot of men, males, boys, kids, all of it, they're not taught that. And on the flip side of that, I don't believe, and I want to definitely dive a little bit more into it, some of the discipline things like that, and the way in which you look at the world and the way in which you're helping the women that you work with. I'm super fortunate. I was taught, okay, it's okay to cry. Like, you're allowed to be emotional. You're allowed to be in tune with your emotions. And I've always been told since I was young, like, oh, you're an emotional dude, or like, you're very in touch with your emotions and all the rest of it. And I'm like, when I was young, I was almost looked at it as a negative because all the guys around me were, you know, rough and tough, and they don't show emotions and they don't cry. And if you cry, you're a fucking pussy, or whatever the case was back in the day. Whereas now I'm like, yeah, I cry. Yeah, I do. Like regularly. I cried yesterday, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. And
because you're allowed to express that emotion, because as you've already said, like, anger comes out 9 times out of 10, anger's coming up as a different emotion expressed in one way, because people don't know how to express it.
Exactly.
They can't articulate how they're feeling. So it kind of just bottles up, and then it becomes outwardly anger. And people are like, well, that's an angry person. It's like, no, that person's hurting. That person can't express their emotions. That person's actually really, really sad, or they are embarrassed, or there's something going on externally that they can't control, and that's being expressed as this. And I think that emotional regulation and actually teaching people the foundation of their emotions and what they mean and what they represent, and oftentimes realizing that it's not just what you see on the surface. There's a hell of a lot of layers underneath that. And I know that that's probably one of the hardest things for people to grasp, especially like young guys. And that's something that I'm quite big on, is teaching dudes that, and I work with, you know, quite a lot of young guys, and I teach them. I've got clients who I sit there and I'm like, dude, it's okay to cry. You're sad about this. You are upset. You are allowed to, you're allowed to be sad. If you want to sit down on the beach and cry, please
do that. Yeah.
And one of my good friends, I won't mention his name, but he'll know who he is. I almost taught him how to cry and how to express his emotions, because he had never realistically been taught that in a way. And I think that having that perspective, especially as a guy within the industry and all the rest of it, and I even had someone message me this morning, they're like, oh, it's really cool to see a male talking about gratitude.
Yeah.
Because I put up a post the other day talking about how grateful I was to be training. And that's what's getting me through at the moment, not this tough nut, like, oh, just fucking push, you're being a bitch, like this. And I think there's a time and a place for that, depending upon the situation. But also just being like, man, how fucking lucky are you to be able to train? How lucky are you to be able to actually go for a run in the sunlight?
Yeah, I'm really appreciate
all of these
that.
things, and that carries so much weight. And trying to teach that to the next generation, as you said, it starts with someone who's able to co-regulate them. So first things first, I think there needs to be more education for teachers.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing, because I know for a fact that the teachers who helped me the most weren't the ones who were the nicest to me, weren't the ones who just like, they were actually half the time the ones that were just real with me. They're like, hey, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you, but you need to actually be responsible for that. And it's having somebody there to almost just shine a light.
Absolutely.
To help you through that. You still need to do the work yourself, and I still needed to come to terms with, okay, well, why am I this way? And I've spent the better part of fucking nearly 29 or nearly 30 years trying to figure that shit out. And the more I've dove into figuring out why I am the way I am, the more I have then been able to see that in other people. And yes, that has allowed me to be more empathetic and more sympathetic towards people's situations and look at things through a different perspective, rather than someone snaps at you and you're like, oh, fuck that guy, they're just a dick. You're like, okay, are you okay? And then they kind of take a back step and they're like, what? I'm like, no, are you doing okay at the moment? Like, you know, I noticed you're a little bit short, and is there something going on? Like, do you want to chat? And they're kind of just like, yeah, and they don't know what to do.
Exactly. And it is that moment where someone can open and hold space. like when you were saying with a teacher being quite firm and saying, you are messing up, but I can help you, but you still need to have that. It's showing you that they can hold space for you. They are open to it and they can see you further than what you're seeing in front of you. And I do think in regards to teachers and people in those kinds of positions, it's, as a child, almost seeing someone see further and see your potential and giving you that opportunity. Say, I can see more in you. I know that you're better than this. Let's work to it, but you have to put the work in.
Yeah.
So it's holding a space, but it's also calling you out in the way of which they can see potential. And everyone wants purpose. People want to belong. It's in our nature. It's what, so when you're trying to remove yourself from connection and snapping at someone or, messing up whatever it is, it's, as you said, having someone to lean in and not just react, not take your reactivity as a sign to fight back, but as a reason to lean in and to hold the space and open up the channel for questioning. And, if you're saying that to someone, they may just dismiss you, but you've opened up something. I think that's the great thing about social media as well, is that there are so many more avenues for us to have awareness and to have our minds broadened. But again, it does come back to people being able to hold space and being able to understand themselves enough to hold space for somebody else. Like you said, going through your own personal journey has given you the capability to take that step back and to not see everyone's reaction as face value. It's able to see the depths. And I think similarly, like I have spent the better part of my life trying to work through my own traumas and heal things from my own past and understand why people do the things that they do. I think growing up, that was such a big thing for me. I grew up with not very many role models in probably not the safest of homes and upbringings. And I'm one of 4. I have 3 siblings. We all had vastly different childhoods, even if we experienced the same thing. And I think having that knowledge as I was older and able to step back and reflect and see how we were all shaped by something so similar but so differently, that in itself is kind of a bit of a case study for how you can view life. If you've got siblings, and it's the same with parents. I think after a certain point of becoming more self-aware, you can look at your parents and understand that they're just humans too. Even if it was very negative experiences that you've had over your childhood, you can take that step back and have that reflective look. And I think that pulling apart of your own self and bringing it back together in that more positive, healthy way and light gives you such a different lens on the world. And, everyone has different experiences, some more positive, some vastly more negative than others. But the ability to have that resilience, to look deeper, to work on themselves, I think is such a crucial thing. And not everyone has a friend that has the capacity to say, hey, mate, what's going on? Like, I've noticed this about you. Not everyone still, in their 20s and 30s has positive role models around them. So the more that we can help to impact, whether it's one person, 5 people, like you said with your coaching, the young men that you see every single day, the impact that you're having on them, the families they'll potentially be a part of, their friends and their outward circle through social media, that impact is so profound that is what we as people in this day and age and people that prioritize health and fitness and mental health and wanting to be in those spaces need to keep that at the forefront of our mind, is that your actions do have a flow and effect. The way that you show up in life matters, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your parents, your family, your friends. That influences people in a bigger way than I think anyone truly realizes. Why, again, your community is so important, and finding community, I think, is such an important thing for people. Bringing back to, when you're young and no one's able to help you in that, creating spaces where there is that support for you. And then it, as you said, flowing on to teachers, people in those positions that are in that, formative kind of structure in our community, that does matter so much. But if we don't have it ourselves, we can't give it to others.
Correct.
And in a lot of education systems, like it's going to take a long time for those things to flow on. And that is the reality. And I think you can look at the lens of being very disheartened by how hard it could be to make change, or you can look at it from a lens of, but what impact can I have within the community that I'm in? Because you never know.
Yep.
It's like rocking up at the gym. Everyone else that is at the gym, they have different careers. They have families, relationships, and all of those things. And how we all show up and support one another then emboldens them to be able to go and do that for others.
Yep.
And again, it's having a conversation with someone at the gym that might be a principal at a school. And if you are having a conversation about something like this, can spark thought and spark change, or positioning yourself in areas of the community that may need that support or that moment of reflection to make that change. You never truly know what impact you could have. But I think that coming in from the angle of assisting people to break past their own limitations in their mind, and it's a lot of coaching, I'm sure, in the fitness space as well, is helping people move past the limitations they have of themselves to reach the goal that they have, to, surpass previous experiences and navigate life in a different lens and be able to, hit the PBs in the gym or whatever it might be. It's being able to hold space and open up the field for someone to make that change.
Yeah, I think a big thing with all of this is, you mentioned it in there a couple of times, like with relation to parents and things like that. And I know for a fact that I was somebody, and both of my parents are going to be listening to this, so hello, mum and dad. I was somebody who probably blamed my parents for a lot of the way in which I was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started to get a lot older and actually work through a lot of this stuff on my own that I started to realize at the end of the day, they were just humans living their own human experience with their own abilities that they'd learnt themselves, their own ways in which they've seen the world and things that they've learnt along the way. They don't know it all.
Exactly.
And it wasn't until recently when I went and saw Chris Williamson live, he kind of said something very similar in relation to, like, a lot of people are quick to blame their parents for their trauma. But there becomes a point where if you're aware enough to blame your parents, you're aware enough to take control of that and change the narrative.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the biggest things for me when I started to learn and really dive into a lot of these processes. Was I wanted to show up better as a person. I wanted to show up better as a future partner, future father, all the rest of it. Because that, to me, I was like, well, I don't want to pass on any of the things that I've learned that may be negative to my kids. And the only way in which I can do that is by taking responsibility for it. So taking the blame away from my parents, because it's very easy to blame other people and being like, okay, they were just trying their best with the skills that they had and seeing that for what it was. And it actually made my relationship with both of my parents much better.
Yeah.
Like so much better, because there was almost that reduced animosity.
Yeah.
There was that reduced sort of like resentment of like, oh, well, I learned this because you were this way. It's like, okay, well, I learned this because they were this way, but how do I not stay that way for the future? And actually being able to understand that, because so often you see people blame their parents for how they are, and they're just, it's my dad's fault, it's my mum's fault, they weren't there, they weren't this, they weren't this. And beyond, like, I'm sure there's absolutely situations where incredibly toxic households and things like, I was very fortunate that was not my case, but I know that there's a lot of people who do go through quite severe trauma, and I'm not taking away anything from what they've experienced, but I do still believe the responsibility is on them to help themselves to progress forward in a way in which that will allow them to show up better for themselves and in the future show up better for others.
Absolutely. And it's that piece of, it may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility now.
Correct.
And I think the same for myself and for my parents and the way that I've grown up. It does take that level of understanding to be able to have that outlook. But if you are moving through life blaming, whether it's blaming your parents, if that bleeds into everything else, nothing's ever your fault. Nothing's ever your responsibility. Therefore, nothing good is ever going to come. And it is that taking radical responsibility. Like I said, it doesn't need to be, you might not be the cause of it, but you're responsible for yourself and how you move through it. Yep. And taking that responsibility for everything can be daunting, but also really freeing. And knowing like you are in charge. You do get to write the rest of the story. Yes, there's going to be influences from different areas of your life, but if you always know that you're responsible for how you show up and how you react and how you navigate life, the way that you wish to, impact other people, the way that you wish to show up, even if you're just going and getting stuff at Woolies, like the way that you hold yourself when you're interacting with customer service, with anyone in any area of life, it's your responsibility. And I think a lot of people are very quick to blame other people, blame other things, other circumstances for why they couldn't achieve their goals, why they react the way that they do, why they don't have whatever the thing is in life. But there needs to be a piece of accountability. Absolutely. You need to be able to stop bullshitting yourself and kind of wake up to everything that you're telling yourself, the lies that you feed yourself to get through your day. The reality is that a lot of people aren't happy with their lives, but it's that accountability piece. It's always this person's fault. Or I didn't have time. I couldn't do this because of X, Y, and Z. Like, if you always find something and someone to blame, you won't reach your goals because you're always going to be negotiating with your own standard. You're always going to be looking really for the reason why you can't do it versus the reason why you can, and positioning yourself as more of that like victim kind of mindset of, oh, of course it's going to end bad. Like people that are negatively geared, if you're only seeing negatives or you're preempting a bad outcome, that's all you're going to be offered. If that's how you're geared up and you're seeing the world, that is all that's going to be offered to you. And the same is, for positive. If you believe that things work out, you're able to pivot. You're more resilient. You're accepting of information, but able to handle yourself in a way that doesn't derail your life when there's a hiccup. You're able to hold yourself better in different situations, which then opens up more for you. It is, taking accountability and taking responsibility for everything in life.
Yeah, I think a big thing with that is a lot of people have a tendency to blame themselves for the good and blame others for the bad.
Yeah.
And they always want to look at things that, may be positive in their life, or they have inherited from their parents, or they have learned along the way, and they're like, oh, well, I did that, like that's on me. And then as soon as something negative, they're like, oh, well, no, that's their fault. And it is that.
Very avoidant.
Exactly. It's almost that they're not toxic positivity, but it's that aspect of, oh, well, anything bad that happens to me is not my fault, but anything good that happens to me is because of me.
Yeah.
And if you're going to sit there and blame other people for the good or the bad, then you need to also blame them for the good.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that you can learn. And some of the time, some of the lessons you might learn actually might stem from a negative place. And it might be, okay, well, this person did X. Well, how do I ensure that I never actually do that? Okay, cool. Well, now I can learn this skill. Now I can learn this adaptation, or when that arises, I take an extra second to just take a bit of a deep breath, regulate myself a little bit better, and then I can respond in a more calm, like coherent space.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you've only learned that because of this. Now, yes, it might have stemmed from something negative, but that has still been a positive outcome at the end of the day.
What can you take away from it?
And I think that once people start to actually view, and I know this has been a big thing for me, once I started to view it through that lens, and you kind of touched on that positivity, and it's not a toxic positivity, it's not, oh, everything's great and fucking I never feel bad and all the rest of it, because that's not helpful either. That then stems where people end up getting angry, getting depressed, getting lost.
That's suppression, absolutely.
Suppression
it's
of emotions.
not what we mean. It's not, toxic positivity to the point of you don't feel your feelings.
Yes.
But being more positively geared and choosing how you wish to see things does have an impact. And it's, we're not avoiding feelings.
No.
You need to be able to cope, handle and deal with your own emotions. But then there's the other side of that where you move through it and you move past it, and you need to be able to hold yourself through that. You can feel a feeling and not have such an adverse reaction to it.
Correct.
You can understand your feelings without needing to outwardly explode on people. It's not you avoiding a feeling. If you're angry, you're allowed to be angry, but the outward projection of that matters, and how you hold yourself in that matters. Being able to hold space. And I think it's going back to what you said about people being so quick to blame others for the bad and never themselves. It's discomfort. of sitting with your own emotions for long enough to see that it was your own fault. Discomfort of looking in the mirror and seeing all of the things that you haven't done, and that the opportunities that you could have, you know, followed through on your word when you didn't. Because it's hard when you are someone that doesn't follow through on their word, and you know, you set a goal and you quote unquote fail time and time again. There is a lot of, you know, negative emotions associated, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, lack of self-belief. I think that is what's reflected in people when something goes wrong, when there's a conflict that arises with another person. If someone brings to us an issue that they may be having, whether that's in a positive or a negative way, we're so easily geared to make it mean something about us, that we must be an awful person. And then shame, guilt, all of the things rise up, and then you're trying to deflect and push it away because it's uncomfortable. And based on your past experience and your upbringing and how you view the world, how you view yourself, that can bring so much up for you in your ability to, you know, cope and deal with conflict, with someone bringing up something that's potentially more negative or a conflict that you have. We let it mean so much about us when it could simply be, we are two people that experience things completely differently. I've done something that has impacted you in whatever way negatively. That doesn't mean that I intended to. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person, but you bringing it to me creates an awareness so that then we can move forward into a new experience, that you don't have that same thing pop up. It's the whole thing of two people have two different sides to the story and neither one is true. Yep. Somewhere in the middle is the truth, because we create meaning based off our own experience. So anything that we've experienced in our past, we are creating a meaning of the world. People's actions, it's interesting, you watch people observe others or people's reaction. You know, if you walk into a room and you're silent, the amount of people that can't handle a silence, they would be like, what have I done? What's wrong? Tell me what's going on. Because of a past experience, because of their perception. And, you know, there is a level of being able to read other people and understand emotions and energy and things like that. But so much of our beliefs and our outward projection is all from that stored memory. Yep. Everything that we've learned as children, all of our behaviors and beliefs, they're wired from past stories that we can't even begin to kind of unpack just, you know, on a split second. It is layers deeper. But I do think that there is so much that we mask and hide and aren't ready to look at. So when moments of conflict arise, it's easy to lash out versus take ownership. It's easier to nitpick and blame the other person versus take on what they're saying and reflect and go, okay, well, what part did I play in that? What part am I playing in my life? What role have I played in this conflict? And how can we move through it to an actual resolution, not just a, oh, but you did this and you did that and
not
you made me feel this. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes down, I think the biggest thing is going to be communication.
Absolutely.
A lot of people lack the ability to communicate, and it stems from an inability to understand why they're feeling that way.
Yeah.
Which again, we've touched on plenty of times. It comes from their past, it comes from their previous stories. Things are wired so deep subconsciously sometimes that we don't even think about it. Yeah. And I was working with a coach last year, Trav Cochran, the mindset technician, and one of the things he talked on is like, you know, there could have been something that happened to you when you were 10 years old and you got really embarrassed in a public setting. And all of a sudden you're 30 years old in a boardroom, and that same little boy that got triggered at that one time is still playing out. Yeah. Because you haven't been able to sit there and actually understand why you feel that way in certain situations. And because you don't understand it, you can't explain it. Yeah. Learning to actually be able to articulate, okay, I feel X because of. And it's not sitting with it from a point of being a victim. It's sitting from it from a point of like understanding yourself, which then allows you to either explain that to another person and communicate that, or it allows you to then open that bridge for communication for the future. And when you're actually able to articulate and communicate that to another person, it helps them to understand, but it also helps you to feel a little bit more seen.
100%.
And being able to do that for other people as well, and be like, teach people that, and teach people, okay, well, there's things that you might not think are very important from your past, but they very well may still be playing out in your day to day. The way in which we show up now as adults is pretty much everything that happened to us as kids, pretty much everything that happened to us as teenagers.
Exactly.
And it's our responsibility to actually confront that. But other people aren't going to necessarily know straight away why we are that way. If you do walk into a room and you're quiet, okay, you might just be a quiet person, and that's fine. But if that's different from how you're normally showing up and there's a reason for that, just being able to communicate and say something as simple as, hey, I'm just a little bit off today. I've had X, Y, Z happening. Straight away, that can settle the other person's mind, so then they're not actually reactive. They're actually like, oh, okay, well, how can I show up for you? What do you need from me to be able to show up? And this is really crucial in relationships. I know in the past in relationships, when I haven't been able to articulate the way I felt, and then it's kind of just played out negatively long term. And so much could have been stopped by just basic communication.
Absolutely.
And just being like, hey, I'm actually just a little bit frazzled from the week that's been.
Yeah.
I've had a lot going on. This has happened, this has happened, this has happened. Straight away that person's like, okay, well, they're not annoyed at me. They're not angry at me. I actually probably just need to be a little bit softer with them tonight.
Yeah.
Or I need to give them a bit of a kick up the arse to help them get out of this rut.
Yeah.
And the way in which that they are able to help you is based upon the way in which you're able to articulate how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way.
Absolutely.
I think that that's the biggest thing that people need to learn.
Yeah, because otherwise we're left creating stories in our mind on both sides of why the other person's behaving that way or how someone's perceiving you because of X, Y, and Z. Communication is at the crux of everything, and being able to accurately understand and articulate your emotions, and also in sharing, hey, I'm not feeling that great today. I'm tapped out. I've had a big day at work. You're creating space for the other person, as you said, to show up, but you're also opening up yourself to be a little, like to soften a little bit, to take the burden off what you're feeling and just being able to communicate that in whatever way. And that's why therapy, journaling, being able to have conversations with friends that are open to this is so pivotal, because you're, as I said, not only giving them the opportunity to hold space for that and show up differently than they may have otherwise, but you're also teaching yourself that it's okay. You're training your own mind that you don't have to hold everything in. You don't have to, deal with everything by yourself. And even if it is just in saying, I just need a minute to myself, you're showing yourself that you're safe, you can regulate, and you're in an environment that it is okay to do so. And I think when we hold everything into ourselves, again, we create these stories, but we're also creating a pattern that you must always hold it in, that, you're going to ruminate and you must figure everything out by yourself. I know for myself, I never told anyone what was going on inside my head. I had the self-belief that I had to be good. I had to not have a problem and not, lean on anyone else, because I was the one that was leaned on. I was always the one that was doing okay. The strong one you can turn to, tell all of your things to, and could handle it and help you through it. But as being that, and I valued that so much, and I still do, but having that there as a pillar of being strong and wanting to have that open space for people, I created a narrative in which I couldn't do that for anyone else, because if I wasn't okay, how could I help anyone else?
Yeah.
And it's realizing that we're all just human. We're all experiencing things in our own way, and you having emotions doesn't make you less than. You speaking up about what you're feeling doesn't label you as anything other than human.
Yeah.
And it's so important. And I think there's such a great mix of being able to hold yourself accountable and, show up for yourself and be disciplined and hold a higher standard and, not make excuses, etc. But to know that your feelings are still valid, having the space and time and ability to open up and express those and move through them, because you can't have one without the other. Yeah. I do think communication is just so pivotal in so many areas, and being able to understand what someone is going through and know that you're safe to express what you're going through as well, it changes lives.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing is too, people as humans, we sometimes tend to forget that we're in our own head 24/7.
Yeah.
And in reality, people don't think about us as much as we think they do.
No.
And this comes from a self-confidence thing. This comes from, when you walk into rooms and you believe people are talking about you, thinking about you. Half the time, people just don't care.
They don't.
And one of the biggest things that like sort of highlighted this to me was I had somebody say, okay, how often when you're walking through the shops, do you actively sit there and like break down every person around you?
Absolutely.
And I was like, man, I just don't.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sweet. So why the fuck do you think they're doing it about you?
Yeah.
And you kind of go, okay, that's pretty reasonable. A big thing with people going to the gym for the first time is they get so self-conscious. Oh, everybody's going to be watching me. Everybody's thinking, what am I doing at the gym?
Yeah.
What is this? What is that? Half the time people don't care. They're in their own heads.
Yeah.
They've had their own days. They're just trying to get through what they're trying to get through. I've had times where I've accidentally been staring at people and I'm like,
Same.
hey, I'm
like
not even actually,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, is there something wrong? Like, have I done something? Am I doing something weird? And I'm like, man, I am
see right
not
through you.
even, you're not even a blip on my radar right now in the nicest way possible. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
And I tend to stare off into space when I think.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And you realize that sometimes we're just in our own heads so much that we believe everybody else thinks about us in the same way, in the same light, in the same everything. And that's not to say that people don't think about us, because it does happen. But I think if we start to realize we're not the main character in everyone else's story, we're just the main character in our own.
Yeah.
And we can show up and allow ourselves that space and understanding, confidence increases massively. Because now all of a sudden you're not worried about what people think when you walk into a room. Because you realize that half the time they don't care. They're not even paying attention to you.
You're not even a blip on their radar.
Exactly. And they're just like, they're going about their day, you're going about your day. And once people can actually start to realize that, and as we've spoken about countless times now, understanding our emotions, learning to regulate around other people and holding space for others. I think a big thing with the holding space is knowing your limits where they are applicable to. And this was something I found in my early years of coaching, working face-to-face as a PT. We have a tendency to just have to deal with whatever the person is coming in with at that.
Part-time therapist.
Honestly, I felt like a full-time therapist half the time. Full-time therapist, part-time rep counter. I used to just say I count reps for fun.
Part.
Yeah, I was so shit at it. All my clients will attest to that. I suck at counting reps. But the thing is when we're looking at it from that lens, we also need to understand that sometimes people won't have that space for us.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten on through the years of coaching, one of the best things, and this comes back to communication, is telling my clients they can come to me with just about anything. If it's something really heavy, they actually need to ask me first if I have the space to deal with that, because I'm very open with everybody. I'm very open with my clients, and I'm fucking open on social media about how I feel when I'm feeling down. If I'm going through a rut, I will post about it or I will talk about it because I know that it helps other people.
Yeah.
And there's been times where clients will come and dump really heavy things and I'm like, hey, I don't actually have the space for this right now. I'm really, really sorry you're going through that. And I will absolutely let you know when I have an ability to be there for you in that capacity.
Yeah.
I just actually don't have the space. And by communicating openly with my clients, I mean, like, if there's something like this, I do want you to bring it to me, but just ask first.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we get caught up in that main character energy where we're the only people who matter at that point in time. And it's not necessarily a negative thing, because what we're bringing is valid and what my clients will be bringing to me is valid, and it will absolutely have an implication on what we're doing and the work we are doing at the moment, whether that might be, I had one of my clients this week who expressed that, there's a bit going on, and I was like, sweet, my dude, you're taking the week off.
Yeah, like how can we structure your life to fit into that? Yeah.
Thank you. I really, really needed that. I think that's going to help massively. Like, perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do that. We've got the tools and everything in place to kick back off when we need to.
Yeah.
But for this week, I just want you to downregulate. I want you to go and spend time with your partner and your family and have that time for you because I know you need it.
Yeah.
But again, he felt comfortable enough to come and communicate how he felt.
Yeah.
I was able to then meet him where he was. If I turn around, he didn't communicate to me, all I saw was the sheet, he hadn't done anything, I'd be like, the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Pull your head in. Why aren't you doing this? And it's having the balance between you need to do this and I see you.
Yeah.
Let's find a way that works.
Yeah,
Because
and I mean,
that's a really hard thing
so
for a lot of
crucial.
people.
Yeah, and I think a testament to yourself as a coach to be able to have that relationship with your clients that they feel comfortable being like, this is what's up. And also having your own emotional intelligence and ability to go, there are important things in life and health and fitness is one of them, but what you're going through is going to take precedent, and you don't just need to push and push to do, whatever sessions if your life is going to benefit way more by, like you said, touching back in and connecting with family and life and looking up from what's going on and not just trying to push and push and push. I think especially, you mentioned before with men not feeling as though that there is a space to express their struggles and their emotions. It's having other men open that and be like, that's fine. That's okay. That's accepted. And it's the intelligence as well, emotional intelligence again, to know what's needed in those times and be able to conduct yourself in the right manner throughout that. There are spaces and times where, someone is just being lazy and you push them through it and you get like, come on, let's be real, stop negotiating, you have a goal. That and needing the time and the space because of whatever struggles, completely different things. And I think a lot of people get that warped, and it, you do see more commonly the people that do need the kick up the butt and need the accountability, which is there, and there's time and space. And, I'm all about that, all about discipline, setting a standard, keeping the standard, but it's from a place of knowing and understanding emotions and having that capacity. But like you said before about being able to hold a boundary, you have to be able to have the emotional intelligence to be able to hold a boundary with other people and with yourself, for yourself and for other people. So going and knowing when it's appropriate to share certain things and to who with. It's the same with relationships. Not everyone serves the same purpose in a relationship. There are people and friends which you can confide anything with, and they have the space and capacity and the safety for that. But it's not always the same from friend to friend. We all know we have the friend that we can say our life story to. They are our therapist. We've got that safety. And there are other friends that you don't. And you can kind of have the intelligence and discernment in that. It's the same in relationships, like knowing what they're there for and what they're not, what you can get from different people. And I think it's funny in terms of like PTs, and, you hear it a lot with hairdressers too. People just come and emotionally dump. And I do think as well, like, yeah, people need to talk to people. They need connection, and those are often the only places that they get it. But I do think, again, it comes with a layer of they themselves probably need a bit more emotional awareness to not dump that on other people. And it kind of gives a bit of an insight too into their own capacity to hold their emotions and what supports they have around themselves to kind of have that outletting of emotion on, but being able to hold that boundary and that standard for yourself. Again, you're protecting your own emotions and your own energy and your own ability to support them in the way that you can at that time. But yeah, I think it does kind of come down to you need that emotional awareness to be able to not just project that on every single person you come past.
Don't just trauma dump.
Guys,
Don't
it's not
just
great.
trauma dump. Please feel your emotions.
Speak and share.
But ask first. Just a simple, do you have the capacity for this today? Do you have the space to hold? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they might not. Again, it's not a personal attack on you as a person. It's just something that you need to learn is like, okay, cool. This person may not have that space right now. It doesn't mean they're not always going to have that space.
Absolutely.
And potentially, if that is the case, where they're not able to hold that space for you, then you can understand that relationship better. And if that is, a romantic relationship with a partner or something like that, then that might take you to reflect and be like, okay, well, what is it that I actually do need?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people...
Can it be met?
That can be something that's really hard to confront as well. It's having that ability to sit there and be like, okay, well, does this person bring me what I might need in a relationship? Am I able to bring them what they need?
Exactly.
Comes down to communication, comes down to all of these things, but sometimes there's that misalignment, and a lot of, I think so many relationships can be solved by communication and understanding the other person a little bit better.
Yeah.
But then also, when you do have boundaries or whatever the case might be, understanding that like, okay, this person actually may not be the person that I need.
Yeah.
And that can be a scary thing for people to confront. And they'd rather just be like, okay, well, I'm going to hide that.
Yep.
And I'm not going to think about that. And then all of a sudden they're 6, 12 months down the line and these micro resentments start to build and these little things that they don't really think are important because they're telling themselves they're not important. And then all of a sudden it blows out in this huge argument over the most stupid thing. And you're like, holy shit. Is this really as big a problem as it is, or is it actually something that's happened over a 6-month period?
That could have been dealt with at that time.
It's a simple conversation.
Yeah.
Simple, hey, I noticed this, or I might need a little bit more of this. Are you actually able to provide that for me?
Yeah.
And if that person's not, it's okay.
Exactly.
There will be someone who can.
Yeah. And I think, again, it comes back to like fearing emotions and what sitting with certain things means for reality. And if it is in the case of relationships, and there might be a mismatch in certain things that means, you know, the relationship isn't destined to be, but people have such a fear of confronting anything that they push those emotions down so far that, again, like you get years down the track and you're married and have kids, and then you finally look up and go, oh, this life isn't what I wanted. And it is a lot of, you know, we are fed a story of what we have to do and how we should live our lives, you know, go through school, get the job, get the security, you know, meet the partner, get the house, have the wedding, like all of these things. And I think that's being deconstructed. And so many people, again, have being able to carve different paths and open other people's eyes up to different realities and alternatives where that's not the way. But there is such a fixation on this as the only path in our lives that understandably, it served its purpose, you know, safety, secure jobs, everything like that, you know, creating the home, creating the family, you know, that's the stuff that we're sold that we have to do. And especially for women with a biological clock, you can't want X, Y, and Z because you have to get married and have children.
Yep.
And then the stereotypical, you know, norms of society of what a woman should do and provide and what a man should do and provide. And in there, you lose reality, you lose connection. And people are so quick to just step through life, never looking up, never reflecting. And again, it's that pushing down the emotions, not knowing themselves, not diving deeper into what they truly want and what that looks like in life. That you meet the person at 19 and then you stay together, you get married, you have kids, and then you finally like, oh, hang on, not what I want. But it's so far down, which I mean, you can make change at any point. Life, you know, there is no definitive, you must do this, you're set in stone. You can make the shift, but it comes from being able to understand who you are and what you want and being able to have the self-leadership, the courage, the resilience to choose that above all else. And in the terms of a relationship, say the things that might, you know, lead to conflict, or they might not. You're creating a reality that you aren't actually letting the other person show up to just because you believe they're going to respond a certain way. And being able to, you know, have the intelligence to go, this is true to me, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I need in life, this is who I wish to be. Can that person meet you there? Can you meet them with their needs? And it not being such a disaster if you can't. We're all just people. That's just the reality. Not everyone gets along.
Yep.
Not everyone's meant for everyone. And it's not a failure to have a change, to lose friendships, lose relationships. There's a, you know, a season for all of it. You learn and you grow, but it's wanting to grow and wanting to learn and not hiding from the hard conversations with yourself and with other people because you're afraid of the emotion or afraid of the outcome. You're never going to live a life you're truly happy with if you are trying to run away from emotions and feelings. Take the good with the bad. It can't all be rainbows, you know.
Be great or good.
You need to be able to sit with discomfort. As I said, people are too often avoiding it. It's the same doom scrolling, eating junk food. Like, it all comes together, which again brings back to like coaching, whether it's mindset, fitness, all of these different areas. It's like being able to have someone hold you accountable, because we lack accountability. As a society, we're so quick to numb ourselves out, to avoid constantly, you know, everyone's checking their phone. I'm guilty of it. You know, we're over consuming and never looking up. And it's only when we hit those moments where sometimes we get smacked in the face with it. Life's not what we want it to be. How did you even get here? And then it becomes this unraveling of yourself, trying to understand how these pieces fit together to the life that you don't want to be living. And it's overwhelming. And it's, again, an area where people just want to push it back down. Push it away, not look at it. Yep. Avoid conflict, avoid change, because it's scary. But there needs to be a part of you that wants it more. And to know that you can have a life that you truly want. And it's not this made up, unrealistic expectation that you can be happy. You do deserve the things that you want in life, the relationship that you want, the career that you want, the vision that you have for yourself, but it's on the other side of discomfort. Yep. It's on the other side of being able to witness yourself, good, bad, ugly, all of it, and sit with it and know how that is impacting your reality in every facet of your life, and being willing to make a change, not just write some pretty goals down and get all hyped up and tell a bunch of people, I'm going to do this, I want this, and then your alarm goes off the next day and then you're suddenly scrolling.
It's a bit too cold.
It's too cold, or, oh, I don't really feel like it today. You so quickly forget these big goals that you have because you let fleeting emotions get in the way. So it's having intelligence. That's what discipline is. It's self-respect. It's being able to move with authority over yourself in life, to be able to carry your emotions and not be led by them, to be able to sit with hard conversations and not try and push them down and create this narrative in your own mind of what your world is and not let anything else in. Like, you need to be accepting of other people's realities, of your own reality, your own emotions, and stop bullshitting yourself, honestly. Like, I think we tell ourselves a lot of lies.
We do.
And if we got a bit firmer, we really truly looked at ourselves and looked at what we need to work on and educated ourselves around our own behaviors, mindset, like the science of the mind. If you really want to break it down, if you look at it from a scientific lens, it can potentially be easier. There's a lot of people talk badly about manifestation and, the power of the mind and make it all woo-woo. But honestly, like, it's in the science. It's the way
reality.
Exactly. Like, the way that our brains are formed. You can't negate that.
No.
The limiting beliefs that you have, it sounds woo-woo to say you need to move past your limiting beliefs, but it's creating emotional awareness of yourself and your patterns and your behaviors, and creating a strength to lead yourself through that and to come back to yourself. I know you mentioned earlier about having the scenario of being embarrassed as a young kid, and then that leading into adulthood. Those things carry with us in so many different areas, and it's being able to dive into that and create that safety in yourself and self-discipline to recognize when those patterns and behaviors are coming up and choose different. Like, nothing changes if nothing changes. If all you're doing is repeating the same day on a loop, you will wake up and go, how did I get here?
Yeah, everything compounds. At the end of the day, good, bad, indifferent.
All of it.
Everything you do, if you wake up and you snooze your alarm every day, suddenly that's who you are.
Yourself.
If you wake up and you get straight out of bed every day, that's something that's compounding as well. How would you say somebody actually starts this process? Because we've spoken a lot about like emotion regulation and showing your emotions and being able to articulate it and talk and learn and dive into yourself and find your limiting beliefs. And I'm a huge fucking lover of woo-woo, big woo-woo guy, because it's, no matter which way you look at it, even if people want to try and argue and be like, oh, it's not science or it's not this, it's like, okay, cool. Go and look at Einstein, Nikola Tesla, every single one of these people who are essentially at the forefront of scientific revolution have all said everything is just energy.
Yeah.
Energy in different ways, energy in so many different realms. And at the end of the day, we are quite literally just atoms vibrating together.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we can kind of vibrate on different vibes.
Absolutely.
And change the way in which our reality is.
Guys, look it up.
Neuroplasticity, like being able to rewire the mind.
Yep. And that's exactly
is a fucking real thing. There's no scientist who can deny it.
Yeah.
So how would you say to somebody to actually start this process?
Yeah, it is about getting honest with yourself. You need to be able to meet yourself where you're at. And truthfully, like, it is difficult. I think anyone that has a goal, whether it's gym-based, professional, lifestyle, relationships, you have a want for more. So being able to clear the space and understand where you are currently is crucial. What is your baseline? What are we working with? What's getting in our way? So creating an understanding of, that looking in the mirror. What's happening that I don't want to be happening? Whether it's, behavior, relationships, all of those things. What is the outcome I want? And then breaking that down as to, this is what I want to achieve. Who is the person that has that? So it's meeting yourself where you are and then getting an understanding and framework of who you want to be. Write it all down, brain dump, journal. What is future you, vision, version of you? Whether you have to, look for expanders out in the world, people that are doing something that you wish to be doing, have the life, have the career. What are their daily habits and routines? What behaviors do they do? Who are they as an embodiment? What are their standards? You need to be able to understand the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Is that it's action, it's discipline, but you need to see what you want. Be able to actually truly see it, envision it, embody it, feel it. And this is that, people get a bit weird about it and all the woo-woo, but if you can't see it, you'll never have it.
Correct.
So being able to, sit with yourself where you are, but not in shame, not in guilt. We're not spiraling at all the things we haven't done. Facts are facts. This is life. This is where you're at. You want different, so now you have to do different. So creating an image of where you are now, where you want to be, list out what are the standards of that person. Who does he or she believe that they are? How do they show up in life? People wanting to get into the gym, like, I want to lose 10 kilos or I want to get stronger. Yeah, great, big goal, cool. You're going to overwhelm yourself. What do you have to do on a daily basis? What are the actions that you need to take? Who do you need to become? You are, it's like you said about snoozing the alarm. When you wake up to your alarm, I am a person that gets up early in the morning. I am someone who prioritizes their health and fitness. I am a woman of her word. I follow through. It's about creating the identity around what you want to be. And identity is the crux of it all, who you believe you are. And again, it's being able to sit with that emotion, because there will be things that come up, your limiting beliefs, your old patterns and behaviors that are going to try and keep you stuck, keep you down. Your brain isn't wired for growth. It's not wired to accept change. It wants to keep you safe, even if the safe is the shit that you don't want.
Yeah,
that's just what it is. Yeah, it wants to keep us safe. So all of these self-sabotaging behaviors, those are going to come up whenever you meet that edge of tolerance. But it's building your capacity to tolerate more. It's building your resilience. And again, understanding your emotions and why you're wired the way that you are can help you, expand your tolerance for discomfort, expand your tolerance for stress, because change is stressful, but it's creating an environment in which you can do that. Understanding the actions that you need to take, and then set yourself up for those. It doesn't happen by wishing that it happens. It doesn't happen by hoping that it happens. That's why people go to a PT, because they want X goal. They now need a program to get there. You need to treat it the same in your life. You want happiness, you want X relationship, career, move past, a lot of people struggling with mental health and those kind of things. There's so many different avenues, but for help, but it comes down to as well having the tools, having the right tools and the right ability to regulate. When you're overwhelmed, instead of grabbing for your phone, go for a walk, read a book, take a deep breath. And another breath is an amazing tool as well. I think we've spoken about this before, the ability to regulate yourself by breathing. And again, backed by science, people search it up, but having those tools. So I'd start, starting with the basics, starting with where you are, who you want to be, and then the bridge that gaps it is the actions that you need to take on a daily basis, who you believe you are at your core. And I think that's why it can be some of the hardest work for people to do, because you have to be able to look at yourself and sit with yourself. And it's a lot of the time not something that people want to do.
No.
It's confronting and it's hard, and it brings up so many emotions. And again, your brain will try and keep you safe. It's not going to want you to feel them.
Exactly.
It's going to want you to run as far as you can away from that. But building the resilience and connecting back to yourself and creating that safety to know that it's okay and to be able to move through that. And there are so many modalities in terms of, you know, mindset work and breath work and those different avenues that can be so supportive along that, you know, even like journaling, brain dump, everything that you're thinking and feeling. It's having avenues to turn to when life is overwhelming and having strategies to be able to understand your mind and cope and handle and deal. That's how you can bridge those gaps and create a new identity. You're giving yourself alternatives. You know, you're not someone that flips out anymore. You take a deep breath, you write it down, or you know, phone a friend. You need to be able to create new pathways, new avenues for you to turn to. It's the same, you know, health and fitness. You want to be healthier. You create the routine. You set yourself up for success. You remove obstacles in your way. It's kind of all just meshes together in that.
As you said, it is very confronting. It is confronting to sit there and actually look at the good, because a lot of people will look at the good, as we've said about at the start. They'll look at the good and they don't necessarily want to confront the bad. And the bad and the ugly and the indifferent and all the rest of it is actually where the real work comes from. And having that ability and those tools in the toolbox, whether that might be journaling, breath work, meditation, learning to actually talk to somebody, going to a psychologist, a psychiatrist. Nowadays, there's that many like spiritual practitioners and all the rest of it. There's everybody under the sun that can potentially help start this process. And it's not a one size fits all. You will find what works best for you. Sometimes people do find things a little bit more woo-woo and they don't feel as comfortable yet at that point. It's like, cool, okay, you don't need to start there. I got plenty of clients who I've spoken about. I'm like, oh, cool. We're just going to start with some basic box breathing. To start off with the emotional regulation. They're like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm not going to get you to journal. I'm not going to get you to sit there and manifest. I'm not going to get you to sit there and visualize and all the rest of it.
Sitting with your feelings is hard.
It's hard.
People don't want those things.
No, but being able to actually start and meet the person where they're at and find that point of entry where they feel comfortable to do that, I think is the biggest thing that is going to make people actually want to change. And you spoke about it within there, understanding, okay, where you are now, write everything down. What do you do in a day to day? Where do you want to be? What does that person do? And how do you bridge that gap? Because when you look at it and you go, okay, I am somebody who wants to lose 10 kilos, or I am somebody who wants to be a CEO of a company, or I want to be the next big thing on Instagram, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, well, that's fucking scary. So I'm just going to play it safe over here and not do that. But by being able to sit down and actually understand, okay, well, what does that person do on a day-to-day basis? Because when we really, really look at it, and you look at the biggest CEOs in the world, the most successful people to exist, if you look at their daily schedules, we might look at it and be like, oh, that's really overwhelming. But you see, and there's not a single person that I listen to, read books of, etc., who doesn't start their day with some form of checking in, whether that is journaling, breath work, meditation, gym, sauna, ice bath, any of these things that help them to actually regulate themselves
net positive
first
for your brain.
And foremost. Starting the day by doing something hard or starting the day by doing something that's for you, again, allowing yourself to show up better for yourself, which allows you to show up better for others. But actually understanding, like, what does that person do on a day-to-day? How do they speak to themselves? How do they interact with others? How do they interact when something goes wrong? How do they interact when something goes right? What are their non-negotiables? What are their boundaries? Okay, well, once you start to create that framework, and working with Trav, we created basically a full identity for myself as to who I wanted to be. We gave it a title. We did all of these things. And he got me to just sit down and write every area of life. How does that person show up? And some of it was confronting because I was like, I'm not there. But you don't need to be. That's the point. If you're already sitting there and you're writing these things down, you're like, oh, I'm already there. But you're not living the life you want. You're either lying to yourself or your dreams aren't big enough. And I think there needs to be a little bit of that edge of scariness.
Absolutely.
You need to actually be like, oh, that's confronting. That's something that I'm going to need to actually work for.
That's where the growth is.
Exactly. But break it down into manageable pieces. I talk about it all the time with clients. If it's like, we want to lose weight, okay, we set a deficit, step target, minimum gym sessions, etc.
Actionable things.
If I want to be a better business owner, okay, well, do you own a business right now? No. Do you have a business idea? Yes. Okay, what does the most successful person in your field, how do they do it? And you might not fully align with everything that they do, and that's okay. But what are 3 things that you can take from them?
What can you take away?
Cool. What's the next best person doing? What are 3 things you can take from them?
Exactly.
What are 3 things you're not going to do that they do? Wonderful.
It's the same, like looking at what resources do they have?
Yep.
How do they hold themselves? And being able to marry that up with what resources do you currently have then? How do you currently meet yourself? How do you meet others? And then bridging those gaps again. And it's, you know, finding expanders, finding people that have done what you want to do. So it's proof. If they can do it, so can you. Correct. I think people get very stuck in the fear of change and the fear of, you know, not being able to achieve something, failure, or looking at someone and thinking, oh, well, there's so many people doing it, like PTs. So many PTs. Why would I bother? Or there's really great, successful coaches that you can aspire to because they've done it, so can you.
Yep.
I think it is that shift, but looking at, exactly like you said, what do they do on a day-to-day? What are their resources? How do they show up? What does their calendar look like? Are you willing to meet that? Because I think another thing is that, you know, dream big, but be realistic of what you're willing to put in.
Correct.
A lot of people will, again, using, you know, the weight loss analogy, like, oh, I want to lose 10 kilos. Are you willing to do everything that it takes? As in prepping your meals if you have to, making the healthier options, saying no to certain occasions because you have a goal in mind. You know, is it, you know, hitting the gym? What is your realistic availability?
Correct.
Don't set a goal so high that you're going to work out 6 days a week and only eat X, Y, and Z. Like, it's not realistic and it's not maintainable. And yes, there's a level where the life that you want takes a lot of effort to get to in certain circumstances, and it should. Anything good requires effort, but you also need to be willing to put in the effort. Otherwise, you're just going to keep setting these goals just to set yourself up for failure, just to complete the same loop over and over again. Whereas if we're looking at it from the lens of what do you truly want and why do you want it? What is the feeling underneath? Because a lot of people say, I want the money, I want the this, I want the that. What does that give you? What is it actually allowing you to do? Is it because you want freedom? Is it because you want connection, money, you know, security? What is the true thing under that? That is what is going to get you further. Understanding the true purpose behind what you want to be able to set yourself up with realistic, actionable targets to meet. Otherwise, you're creating this vision that's not really aligned with what you want. And you hear a lot of people, you know, working hard and, you know, hustling or whatever it may be to get a certain goal only to then be really unhappy.
Correct.
Because they wanted this thing that they thought would entitle them to all of these things, but it wasn't there. So I think, you know, you don't have to have massive goals to be a CEO of a company. Your goal can be a lot smaller than that, or it can be huge.
Yeah.
But understanding who you need to become, why you truly want it. Like, what is it behind? Because at the end of the day, motivation fades. And discipline is really just knowing what you want and why, and having a big enough why to be able to follow it through when the ease of scrolling on your phone instead of putting the work in, or laying in bed because it's cold instead of getting up and doing the thing that you said you were going to do. You know, your why, your reasoning behind that is going to trump that if you care enough. So understanding why it is. You know, someone that wants to lose weight, is it, oh, I just want to look good in a bikini? Or is it because you, as a woman, want to show your daughter that health and fitness is a priority and how to take care of yourself and the strength of that? Like, that there are things that will get you through the hard times, and then there's the junk that you try and fill in there. You know, it's about knowing the truth of what you want and the feeling beyond that.
Yeah, it's again, it comes back to that same sort of message, key theme that we've been talking about. It's understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And you touched on it there, and I think that it's a really underrated thought process. Is you see people with the success, and you do see your Alex Hormozis, or you see successful coaches, you see these people who are doing these things, and you want that, but you don't actually want what it entails and how it to get there. And it's like a big question I asked myself 2 big questions at the start of this year, like, what does happiness mean to me, and what is a happy life, and what is freedom? Like, what is it I'm actually seeking when it means freedom? Because for some people, freedom could be financial freedom. It could be freedom of time. It could be freedom of location. It can be freedom of so many different aspects. They just think freedom entails one thing.
Yeah.
But what does it truly mean to be free? Freedom for some people is hustling their fucking ass off, sleeping 5 hours a night. That's freedom to them, because they get the biggest sense of fulfillment and they love what they do. and they're successful or whatever the case might be. Freedom to other people might quite literally be working 2 hours a day, making enough money just to get by because they want to live on the beach.
Exactly.
They just want to sit by the beach all day.
Exactly.
Those two people aren't wrong in the approach that they have, but we have a tendency to take on what other people want, what other people think we should want, what other people want us to do, how they want us to show up.
Success.
Exactly, and one person's metric of success is so different to another person's. It's like, what does freedom entail to you? Freedom to me is more freedom of location, freedom of time. The time and freedom to be able to do what I want when I want. That doesn't mean not working, because I fucking love working. But it just means, okay, well, what does that actually look like for me? Well, if I identified I don't do much productive of a nighttime, but I'm really productive in the morning. First thing in the morning is my go time. Okay, cool. Well, go to bed earlier, get up earlier, start work earlier, finish work earlier, then you get the afternoon.
Engineer your environment, your life to suit that.
And it doesn't necessarily, it's not going to work for everybody. There are people who do work 9 to 5s, and there are people who love their jobs, love what they do every single day, and they don't necessarily have that freedom. But they can still create freedom around that. And the age-old saying is like, don't work a 9 to 5 or don't work a 38-hour week for someone else and come home and sleep on your dreams. If you want to do something in today's day and age, and I know we've spoken about this, today's day and age, you have so many resources at your fingertips. With the rise of AI, with the rise of online courses and coaches in every field possible nowadays. Pay someone for their 10,000 hours. I have had mentors, coaches. I've spent 125 to 130K on further education out of my own money to get to where I am, to do the things I'm doing. I spent thousands of dollars working with Trav last year to learn myself better. And some people might look at that and go, man, you spent a decent amount of money to learn your emotions. I'm like, yep. And it paid off dividends. The life I now live and the place I'm now currently in and the way in which I was able to show up and handle situations better made it worth it instantly. But it's understanding what that is for you, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're not willing to sacrifice. And then meet yourself in the middle, hold yourself accountable, build that discipline. And you touched on it before, self-belief. Self-belief to me is something that is only built through repetition upon repetition of proving you can do hard things.
Absolutely.
And motivation is fleeting, but I've never been more motivated in my life than when I have had the self-belief that I can do hard shit and I've had that discipline. I believe motivation comes as a byproduct of discipline.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people might look at it from the perspective of, oh, you need to be motivated to start. It's like, just start. Just put one foot in front of the other. Find momentum. The lowest hanging fruit.
That's why they say make your bed first thing in the morning when you wake up. It's not because...
I've done it every day since I watched that video years ago.
I love having a made bed. I can't stand it. I'll make the bed before I'm even out of it. But you stack the wins. Have something that you've already ticked off.
Correct.
Like the same with like decision fatigue and things like that. Don't create an environment with which you are fatigued constantly. Like I set my gym clothes out the night before I go to the gym. I've been training for years. I'm not getting up when my alarm goes off. I have no problem getting up for the gym. I love it. It's like one of the greatest parts of my day. But I don't want to have to think about what I'm going to put on. And back when it was a struggle for me, back when I would snooze my alarm or use the excuse of like, oh, I'm running late because I don't know what I'm going to wear. Like, take it out. Sorry. Take it out. Make it as simple as it can be. You need to construct the right environment to help you get to your goals. You can't just hope that it's going to work out. You need to plan for it.
Correct.
And make it happen in that way. And like you said, like motivation comes as a byproduct of that. Confidence is built through action. And this is why I love health and fitness. I love the gym and everyone should be moving. Like young people, old people, everyone. Not because it's great for your health and all of those benefits. Yes, absolutely. But the mental health side of it, the confidence that I've built. I used to be so shy and quiet. I lacked so much confidence. Like there's no way I'd be sitting here speaking with you now, let alone going to actually even like an open gym environment like we train in at Hurt Locker. Like I closed myself off to everything. I was a little silo, but through going to the gym, through movement, through literally putting in the reps and building the physical strength, I built the mental capability and mental strength, along with obviously doing the work and diving into my mind and healing traumas and all of those things. But it was also in building the physical strength that gave me the confidence to hope for more for myself, to ask for more for myself, and to see that I had the capability to do more. By lifting a heavier weight, you know, progressively over time, I was like, well, I can do more. I am capable. And then it does bring with that the momentum to try more things, and you expand your reality to what you are now able to achieve. And that is just so invaluable for anyone to have. And, you know, you've got obviously like, you know, post-run endorphins and the high from going to the gym and training, and that can like, you know, propel you forward and keep you going. But it's all of those good habits that do stack up and do compound. But the crux of it is building the belief that you can.
Yep.
And again, pieces back to identity, being able to sit with yourself and understand yourself and build the identity of someone that shows up, of someone that does hard things and is capable of getting through. That just can transfer to every avenue of life.
Correct. Yeah. Stacking the wins. One area. I say it all the time with clients, with people. I talk about it on here with multiple guests, and I love the fact that I've had multiple guests from so many different walks of life and so many different backgrounds and experiences, and they all have very similar stories. They all have the exact same advice, and it couldn't be any more obvious for people who are out there that we are all so wired differently, and that's fine. But the evidence is there.
Yeah.
The evidence of doing hard things and showing up for yourself, even on the days you don't want to. And that's not to mean that you're perfect every single day.
No.
We all slip, and that's perfectly fine. I think being realistic, and I will often also try and highlight those aspects of life too, because I do believe it's almost my duty within the online space, as an online coach, even just creator, podcast host, whatever, to show and highlight to people that I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I
no one
fuck up
does.
from time to time.
Yeah.
I slip up on my diet. I might not get my 7 to 9 hours of sleep that I want to get. I'd never get 9 hours. That's a joke. Don't believe me if I say that. It's fucking barely. It's 8 at best.
It's a good number.
8's a great number, I think, sometimes. 7's decent for me.
Yeah.
But it's those little reminders
Yeah.
and understanding that in the world of social media, in the world of everything we have at our fingertips, YouTube is a huge one. I just deleted like half our streaming services because all I watch is YouTube.
Yeah.
Watching other people. What
Live
are they
their
doing?
lives. Yeah.
Yeah, watching other people live
Such
their
a
lives.
voyeuristic society.
It's
We
a
always want to know.
Fucking weird thing. And
Yeah,
it was like one of
but
the
I love
things
it.
that inspired me to launch YouTube was I post all these things, and then I have people ask like, oh, how do you do that though?
Yeah.
How do you get to that point? How do you build the business? How do you launch the podcast? How do you do these things? How do you have the supplement company? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I just post that I have a supplement
Yeah.
company.
And
But
like
we don't
you
post
know
what
what
goes
it took.
into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't talk about how that builds. Like I've now been coaching for 8 years. I've spoken about it off and on over the years, like what that actually took.
Yeah.
People see the life I live now, and
The end goal.
they see me at the beach.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm forever at the beach. I train twice a day if I want. I do all the things I want to do. They're like, oh, it's really nice. It's great. And I'm like,
Must
yeah.
be nice.
But I've worked the 50, 60, 70 hour
Exactly.
weeks. I've worked 7 days a week. I haven't had days off, weeks off, and all of it to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm not any better than any other person. No. I've probably fucked up more than a lot of people will, and I will happily guide people to not make the same mistakes I have. And that's part of why I love coaching so much. But having that reality and be like, oh, okay, I did slip up on my diet today, but that's actually okay.
Yeah. We're all humans.
It's okay, well, how do I get back on the horse?
Exactly.
Don't just throw it out the fucking window.
Yeah.
Get back up the next day, straight back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
And what you'll actually find is you straight away take away that negativity. You take away that negative thought process. Now you're not somebody who cheats on their diet.
Yeah.
You're somebody who just had a one-off. Or you're actually somebody who can be resilient and get back up and do the thing. And I think that when you prove that to yourself time and time and time again, whether it is in a gym setting, whether it is nutritionally, whether it's to do with anything in your life, it all compounds across the realm.
Absolutely.
Start your day by making your bed. I had to laugh at the decision fatigue because anyone who would see my wardrobe would laugh because I have the same shorts, socks, undies, and shirts. So I don't actually think any morning when I wake up. I just grab, done.
You're done. Yeah.
And I'm out. The only thing I change is my shoes, and that's about it. Which is so weird. I got so many shoes for a dude who lives at home and fucking works from home, but that's okay.
Everyone has their things.
It's just one of those things that I worked out for me.
Yeah. That works
First
better.
thing, make my bed.
Yeah.
And I stacked that little win, and that was, I first learned to do that at a time when I was the most undisciplined person you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
I was training, but I was like,
Yeah.
I was eating, but I was
Half-assed
kind of
most
like,
of it. Yeah.
I'd be drinking on the weekends, I'd be doing this. I remember my first nutrition coach, he'd be like, can you just stop drinking? And I'd be like, yeah, man, I'm actually going for a bender this weekend. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we're trying to lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, it's all good. I only drank 2 out of 3 nights this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's not going to help you towards your goals. I was the most undisciplined person ever. And I just started making my bed. And then that just led into the next thing. I was like, okay, well, now I just need a meal prep once a week.
Yeah.
Cool, I can do that. That's easy. I can make things that I enjoy. And slowly but surely over time, proving myself time and time again, as you've said with yourself, proving you can lift a heavier weight.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I can lift a heavier weight, mentally, like, that's great. And I know you're into running and trail runs and more endurance runs.
Yeah.
Which
definitely the resilience that kicks in there.
The mindset to get through those. And I had Sean on the other week, and we spoke heavily on the mindset it takes to be able to run for those stupidly long distances through the bush.
Definitely, yeah. It's all...
Run us through a little bit of that. And what actually got you into that? Hello, Samuel.
Hello again. I started out in the gym, just loving health and fitness, loving movement, but it's actually funny, my running journey kind of coincides with a lot of like my mindset journey, because I got good at going to the gym, but would half-ass most of the rest of my life. And then I used to like rage run after work. I'd be so angry that I'd just like try and whip out a 5K. It was horrific. But then I started like setting goals for myself to run further and better, and it just like became this thing that it was, again, like I was more capable. I could do a kilometre more than, the previous time. I was able to run more controlled, and I just fell in love with being outside and finding, the joy of just being on your feet. And, long runs in themselves, like I look forward to a long run, nothing on my ears, just no music, no nothing, just being with myself.
Just raw dogging it.
It's just... There's something about it that's just like so soothing. Like if I had a lot going on in my mind, I knew I could go out for a run and it would all clear up and I could, get through it. And I think there's something behind like the rhythmic thing of like feet on pavement. But yeah, I started just like setting more goals for myself. And then with like trail running and things, I just started, like I loved the outdoors, and then trails was just a bit more fun, I suppose, than the roads. And then a friend of mine and I decided to sign up for an ultra, for a 50K in Mount Buller, with not enough training. I will say not enough time to train correctly, not many hills or trails under my belt, but I decided why couldn't I? Honestly, and I've still not run a marathon technically yet. I've got Gold Coast Marathon coming up, but I just thought, like, why not? Why couldn't I? So I started training, did my first ultra. It was intense and insane, but through it all, there was never a part of me that thought I would quit. And I think I found that through running is that no matter how scary it feels to go out and run a distance I've never run before, and there's like an element of wondering whether I'll be able to do it, it was always like the switch that I could flip in my mind and go, well, of course you can. Why can't you? And I think that I have them, like, if I think that I can't, I then need to go and prove to myself that I can. And running's very useful for that. So yeah, I did my first ultra through Mount Buller, which it was a 50K. They do the Archie's 100 hut to hut, which is like notoriously one of the hardest ones, I think, either in Victoria or in Australia. But you have to summit Mount Buller, even for the 50 that I did, which was grueling, and it was meant to be in summer and it snowed at the top. So there was a lot that you go through, but that is honestly what I love about it. It's the challenge, that it is you and yourself. Like, honestly, after a certain amount of kilometers, it's not your running capability that gets you through. It's your ability to endure. And I think for myself, just being able to tell myself, like, you can do hard things, and this is, it's meant to be hard. It's meant to hurt. It's meant to be difficult, and the challenge is the point. And I think honestly, just it's so inspiring to me to see other people, and women especially, obviously I see them as expanders, doing hard things and physically hard things as well. Because as I said before, like I found so much strength through movement, so being able to push myself and get the reward of the result of being able to do it, and recognizing how capable I am, and then being able to help other people believe that about themselves too, which is the influence I have from so many strong women in the, fitness community, is seeing them reach for more and prove that we belong in those spaces, and that women are so capable and so strong and mentally, physically, like it honestly just inspires me like nothing else. So yeah, I think when it comes to ultras and trails and the longer runs, it's definitely, you build that mental resilience to carry you through. You have to kind of block out everything else that gets in the way. Yeah.
How do you find it's helped your coaching with getting into that space and almost like utilizing yourself probably as an example as well with some of the women that you do work
immensely.
with?
Yeah.
How have you found that has actually created an impact?
I noticed that a lot of the women that I coach and have coached find me through movement, and through, I guess, a level of, I'm influenced by so many other people, but a level of like that influence of, oh, well, she can do it and we're similar. Why can't I? And that's what I want to be able to bring to women, young women, whatever age it might be, is that we're all capable. And I think when you see someone that is, running certain distances or, going to the gym, lifting certain weights, and that capability, there is, I think, a gravitational pull towards that person, because the discipline that comes from it, the mindset that it takes. And that is something that I think is a real draw into a lot of women, but also I think it shows how you hold yourself, how you see yourself and your own capacity for growth. And it gives another layer to things that I think it's aspirational for women to want to be strong. There's a big push, strong over skinny. We all you see so many absolute weapons in the gym. And I think having someone in the space that is training, doing all of these things, but coming at it from the lens of mindset, because it's hard to get into the gym a lot of the time, as you would know from working with multiple clients. It's not easy to step in and be a beginner at something. And there is so much mindset that comes with that. So I think it's been really a kind of helpful overlap of a passion and a drive that I have to show women how strong you can be, both physically and mentally. And it helps people on a multitude of levels, and a lot for me is helping improve mental health, and movement is so crucial for that. So again, you're leading by example. I believe in everything that I say and help women with, and I'm also leading with that. I lead my life in a way that is positive and healthy, and that's what I'm trying to impart onto other people. So I think it's a great intersection of that mindset, movement, and just showing women that they can be more and they deserve more in every avenue of life.
I love that. What's next for you?
Oh, there
Across
is
the
no
board.
limit. In terms of coaching, just
Everything. Coaching, training, all of it.
coaching, build it as big as you can dream. I want to have as much impact as possible. I want to help people with mindset, but I want to have an impact on mental health across the board, men, women, everyone. I think, like we've spoken about today, there's so much that is needed to bring in a shift of how we're taught and what's brought out to young people every age. I believe that that's what's meant for me, is to help make change in those spaces and make impact, reach as many people, women, as I can, and just keep pushing for more.
Training.
And it's the same with training. Got Gold Coast Marathon coming up. Can't wait for that. A lot of my friends are trying to convince me to do a 100K, so that's potentially scary.
How much convincing do you think you'll actually need for that, though?
It's terrible. I was a very, very easily bendable arm. But I think I also want to do maybe a last man standing kind of vibes.
Sick.
I don't know if anyone watches Bear Performance Nutrition, BPN.
Mr. Nick Bear
Oh my
Fitness.
gosh.
One of my most watched people on YouTube.
Go One More.
It's insane.
Oh, incredible. Just again, the power of people is what I love about fitness. Like, it is absolutely incredible. Yeah, so keep pushing for more, stronger, faster, all of it. Yeah.
Is there a limit?
Only if you let there be one.
I like that. I like that a lot. You could. Samuel's been very. If you're not watching the podcast, Samuel's been very involved today.
Yes.
Normally he just sits
You
and
are the key
sleeps.
guest. You're the key one.
And today he's decided he wants to interact and
Yes.
hang out and play.
Aiming for your role. Hey?
He can come and take my seat. That's fine. I think people would tune in to listen to him.
Absolutely.
He takes more than me anyway. Where do people find you?
So online, on Instagram, Eden_Lucy May. I also train out of Hurt Locker, if anyone wants to come on down and throw down with us there. Also Wednesday mornings, if you're a local to the Mornington Peninsula, myself and my friend Paris, we lead a run club aiming to help connect people, build resilient bodies, resilient minds, all in the lead up to raising some good funds and awareness for men's mental health in Movember. So Run for Resilience also, Paris runs that charity run. So that will be happening in the upcoming months across the Peninsula, Gold Coast and Geelong, I believe. So lots of info on my page about that and about the run. But if you're local, come on down.
There you go.
Yeah, Wednesday mornings we do a run club. Daisy's on the Esplanade in Mornington. 6:30.
I do need to come down to that.
Yeah.
I do need to get down.
Can't wait to see you there.
I'll be down. I will be. I'm just like, I'm trying to just not bite off more than I can chew, but
It's a
also
balance.
bite off more than I can chew
Yeah.
and like
Learn
learn
how
to
to
chew
chew.
really quick.
Yep.
But I've worked out that when I was doing that, I kind of fucked myself up and then
Yeah.
I'm like, bit off too
Yeah.
much and now I got to dial back a bit. But
There is a certain balance that you've got to find.
There is for
But,
sure.
Yeah.
But I've got 3 questions that I ask every guest
Okay.
before we wrap up today. If you've listened to the podcast, you would have already heard these. But first one, what is one thing you would tell your younger self?
You are way stronger than you think, girl.
Good. Your favourite animal?
Oh.
Besides Samuel.
Besides Samuel, I really love whales.
Okay.
You know, like orcas? Yeah.
Like killer
Rogue.
whales?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. You got that's the most excited I've seen you today. Like, holy shit. There's a lot of
just
passion in that
majestic.
answer. Okay. Yeah, they are. They're like pretty. They're cool.
Maybe
They're
a
cool.
rogue answer, so
No,
sorry.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I mean, I love dogs, but like,
No, I like listening to people's different answers because
Yeah.
some people play it safe. Like, oh, cat, dog.
Yeah.
That's cool. And other people,
but how do you really feel?
I had a kookaburra the other day.
Oh my god,
Someone
they
said
are really
kookaburra,
cool,
and I was
though.
like,
Yeah.
That's the randomest
really
answer I've
random.
ever heard.
Yeah.
A lot of people have said gorillas. Andy said gorilla.
Ah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see that in Andy.
Yeah, when he said it, I was like, yeah, that checks out.
That makes
actually.
sense. That makes sense.
Last but not least, what does strength mean to you?
Strength is having safety within yourself and carrying yourself through life.
What does safety within yourself mean to you?
I think, like we touched on earlier, being able to meet yourself where you are and know that you can handle it. Having that resilience and having a space where you feel like you can be authentic and true. And I think once you can come back to that and know that you're always okay within yourself, there is no limit.
I love that. That's fucking awesome. I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Thank you so
It was a
much. It's been
great
great.
conversation. Everybody who has tuned in at home, I can promise you, I know for a fact you've taken a lot of value from that. I'll throw all of Eden's information up in the show notes. I'll put it out on the social media, everything like that. You will be able to find her. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in yet again. Don't forget, if you've taken value from these episodes in any capacity, please like, comment, subscribe. Now, I know that it sounds like a very sort of meaningless task, but when you do subscribe on Spotify, it does recommend it to new people. When you do subscribe on YouTube, it does recommend it to new people. And if you've taken value from this, then there's probably other people out there like you who will also take value. So please feel free to share, like, this is pretty much just the only way it gets out there for other people to find it. And the biggest thing is just trying to help other people and create an impact. So thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you all, and I'll speak to you on the next one.